4 reasons we all need deep self-belief. How much do you believe in yourself? Most of us have a pretty passive view of self-belief. We tend not to give a lot of thought about ourselves, accepting that we have both positive and negative traits. Depending on our mood, we might feel great about ourselves, or we might wish we were somebody else altogether. The question is, how healthy is this? Our goal should be to always hold on to a positive self-belief. Here's where success lies. It's what determines how our day is going to go and pushes you toward happiness. But to maintain such an upbeat assessment of yourself, you need to have deep self-belief. Your feelings about yourself need to be so much more a part of you that a bad day can't wreck your mindset, nor will a setback become your downfall. If this sounds like hard work, let's look at why it's so important to have a deep self-belief. You'll see more opportunities. When we live with a positive mindset, we're more apt to notice the things around us and be able to turn those things to our advantage. We find ourselves receptive to making goals, looking for ways to make those goals happen. Negativity sees opportunity as hard work. Positivity will drive you to take up those opportunities, knowing you'll be able to make them work for your highest good. You'll become more creative. A positive self-image lends confidence to what you're doing. Here's where you gain the ability to relax into your work. You know what you're doing and can see how things come together more clearly than the person who's struggling. Because of this confidence, you're more likely to try new things or to put together ideas in ways the less confident person wouldn't. When we're uncertain, we're more apt to stick with the old ways, regardless of how effective they are. You're more likely to be in motion. When you lack belief in yourself, uncertainty transfers to your goals. What this means is it becomes harder to push yourself forward, as you start to doubt whether you're able to succeed. Positive self-belief means you have a better drive and determination to carry on. Here's where you get the grit to keep going no matter what. The world reacts more positively to you. We all know self-confidence is sexy, but did you know that even in business settings, people will respond to your positive self-belief by being more accommodating? People can't help but respond to your positivity. With so much good, it's no wonder a profound and positive self-belief is crucial to your success and happiness. With that in mind, it might be time to put some work in towards improving your self-belief. Don't you think it's time to be intentional even here? 4 time-tested ways to jumpstart your self-belief. How often do you feel like you're standing still? Did you know your success, accomplishments, the realization of all your goals is tied up in one simple thing? Your self-belief impacts your life on every level. When you don't feel like you're capable, when you think you're not able to realize your goals, this is where you stall out. You stop trying. Things quit happening in your life. Think about it for a moment. How much of your failure in life can be laid at your own door under the guise of negative self-talk, procrastination, and self-defeating behaviors? Thankfully, it doesn't have to be this way. In fact, before you start beating yourself up all over again, you might want to try these 4 time-tested ways to jumpstart your self-belief. Examine your goals. Are you dreaming big enough? When you're bold and set great big incredible goals, you think you'll rise to the occasion to meet them. The problem? While you might have some initial success as a result of initial enthusiasm, it's easy to burn out. The trick is to think big enough instead of just big. What goal pushes you out of your comfort zone while staying within the realm of reality? Set your sights there first. You can always create a bigger goal once you've reached this point. How does this help self-belief? The feeling of achievement when you get there will give you a positive boost. Notice what you've done. What have you already accomplished? Too often we forget the things we do right and instead focus on the things we're doing wrong. By becoming more aware of our accomplishments, we remind ourselves we're capable of quite a bit already. Keep your eyes on your own work. In school, we're taught to focus on what we're doing instead of watching what someone else is up to. The problem is we forget this simple rule as we grow older. Comparisons start robbing us of our own accomplishments. We start seeing what we're not doing more than what we are. To fix this, remind yourself of the things you've done in your life instead of focusing so much on what someone else has done. Accept growth. You already know continued education is good for you, but learning by itself isn't necessarily going to make you feel better about yourself. Being aware of the areas where you're growing is where you give yourself a positive boost. Constantly re-examine where you are and mark how you've developed and changed. So much of self-belief is tied up in being aware of the good things you do. This is why it's so important to always be cognizant of your accomplishments and intentional in your actions. By following these tips, you'll soon see you're not standing still at all. In fact, you're accomplishing quite a bit and feeling better about yourself to boot. 5 brain hacks to build your belief in yourself. There just aren't enough hours in the day to do everything you want. We find ourselves caught up in a slew of obligations involving everything from work to taking care of our families. In the end, who has time to better themselves? Or are there enough hours after all? If your self-belief is dragging, the last thing you need is to put yourself on the back burner. Why? Because you need self-belief if you're going to succeed in your life. Thankfully, there's help. Keep reading to discover 5 brain hacks guaranteed to build your self-belief in yourself, without taking up a lot of your extra time. Affirmations. You've probably already seen a lot about positive affirmations, mostly because they actually work. By writing out several statements to encourage yourself, and then making an honest effort to read them daily, especially out loud, you'll find after a while you start believing them. How to make them work with minimal effort? Write them on sticky notes and place them around your house where you'll find as you go about your daily life. Make a point of reading them when you find them. Work your subconscious. The beauty of our brains is we don't always realize how much is being processed without our awareness. Put positive reminders around that trigger feelings of confidence and contentment. Want an award? Hang it where you can see it. That letter of commendation? Why not frame it? Journal. We process things better when we write them down. Keep a journal and write about the things you've accomplished each day. Add in what inspires you, and notes towards positive growth. Reread previous passages to remind you of how far you've come. Watch the talk. If that internal voice is what's getting you down, it's time to tell your inner critic to shut up and find somewhere else to live. Put a stop to negative self-talk. Instead, substitute more positive variations on what's being said. Replace lies with truths about how much you've already done and how awesome you truly are. Meditate. You don't have to dedicate an hour for meditation to be effective. Taking even 10 or 15 minutes to empty your mind and relax will help you focus inward. If you have a little more time, try a guided meditation focusing on one of your affirmations for an extra positive jolt. None of these items has to take long to be effective. The key is to repeat these steps daily until they become a habit. Before you know it, your confidence will rise. Self-belief is ready to open the door to a more productive, happy, and successful life. 5 tips for boosting your self-belief starting today. More than anything else, we are the only thing holding us back. Does this fact startle you? It's easy to think otherwise. Maybe we were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Luck wasn't with us. We didn't have the skills needed. But while excuses are easy to make, are they honest? Is it possible that the reason we weren't prepared was that we didn't take advantage of the opportunity, or we lacked the skills because we never believed in ourselves in the first place? When you lack belief, you tend not to put in the effort. Why waste time learning new skills or putting yourself out there if you're already certain you're going to fail? This is why your self-belief is so important and why it's crucial to do the things needed to boost yourself up rather than spending time tearing yourself down. Clean up your act. It's hard to feel good about yourself if you're not looking the part. Studies have shown there's a big difference in how we feel when wearing sloppy sweats versus business casual. Start with keeping up in your physical needs by practicing good hygiene. Then get dressed all the way down to your shoes, even if you're working from home. You'll be amazed at how different you feel inside. Change your image. If you were asked to close your eyes and picture yourself, what do you see? If you don't like the answer, it might be time to change something. Picture the you that you want to be. What can you do in your life that will adjust the image? Know yourself. Who are you? It's time to examine yourself from every angle. Do you see limitations or abilities? If you're stuck on the things you can't do, Ask yourself how you can change. Discover if the things holding you back are true obstacles or merely roadblocks. What skills do you need to learn if you want to push yourself further? What can you do to expand your world? Check your values. What are your guiding principles? Are you living in accordance with them? When you're constantly letting yourself down, it's hard to feel good about yourself. Slow down. Being a chatterbox isn't always a good thing. In fact, we tend to slow down when we feel like we have something to say that's worth listening to. Becoming more mindful of what you're saying becomes a sign you're feeling better about who you are and what you have to say. There's no time like the present. Haven't you put yourself down long enough? It's time to discover just how truly wonderful you are. 6 steps to boosting your self-belief. Why is it we're so quick to tear ourselves down? Especially when so much of our success lies in positive self-belief. It seems so simple. At the same time, we've become experts at criticism, finding every flaw and taking it personally, until we become so bogged down in negativity it's a wonder we can still get up at all. This is why it's so terribly important to work on your self-belief, seeking out the positive in yourself and then building on it, until you can see how amazing you are. When this happens, the rest of the world can't help but see it too. How? By following these 7 steps. Start with the possibility. When we accept self-belief as a skill that can be learned, there are no limits for our success. Silence the inner critic. From there, it's a matter of tracking down the negative voices in our heads. You know the ones. Sadly, a lot of what we're listening to comes from people in our past, harsh words we've taken and adopted for our own. Sometimes, though, negativity comes from within. Here's where you need to put a guard on your own thoughts. Refuse to allow anyone to put you down anymore. That includes you. What makes you heroic? When you think about heroes, you think about superpowers. What are the traits you admire in your favorite heroes? List them. How do those traits make you feel? By examining positive personality traits daily, you find yourself incorporating positive actions into your day. Embrace those things which make you feel most like a hero. Be your own cheerleader. Everyone needs a boost now and again. The problem comes when you expect the world to praise you. If you're looking for validation from others, you're only holding yourself back. Become your own best encourager. Motivation truly does come from within. Make pep talks a part of your daily routine. Find a role model. Feeling like you're just not capable in some area? Find a role model. It can be anyone, a fictional character, a celebrity, whoever inspires you, and ask yourself what they would do in this situation. By borrowing the best traits of others, you'll find yourself adopting those same traits in yourself. See yourself as a success. Picture the you that you want to be. The more you practice this level of visualization, the more you'll find yourself moving toward this image in your day-to-day life. In the end, it's not all that difficult to boost your self-belief. The trick is to become more mindful and aware of what you think of yourself. The rest will fall into place from there. 7 things people who believe in themselves do differently. What is it about people who believe in themselves? We see it in the way they carry themselves, in the way they converse with others, and in the things they accomplish. Self-belief in action is an amazing thing to see, and something everyone should aspire to. At the same time, we very quickly become intimidated by this kind of change. It seems like it would be hard to change how you think and feel about yourself. We tend to stall out before we begin because it seems like only special people are going to get there. But is that true? A closer examination shows us otherwise. In fact, you'll find people who believe in themselves have a lot of traits in common. Let's look at some of those now. They know where to find happiness. And it's not where you've been looking. People with self-belief know true happiness is something that comes from inside, not from how many toys you have or how many digits you have in your checking account. They're really not interested in what everyone else is doing. With no judgment and even less interest in comparing themselves to others, people who believe in themselves tend to focus more on what they're doing. The competition simply doesn't matter. They pick their battles. When you lack self-belief, you tend to say yes to everything. The problem? If you don't value your time, no one else will either. Learning which things to say yes to, and more importantly, how to say no, shows the world around them that their time is worth fighting for. They know when to speak confidently. There's no waffling or room for wishy-washy statements in the world of self-belief. Your yes means yes. You use a phrase like I know or I can without second-guessing or wondering if they really can follow through with what they're saying. They look for the challenge. There's nothing like a little healthy competition with yourself. Self-belief means you know the value of pushing to get to the next level. To a person with this kind of self-belief, life becomes almost like a game to move up by facing a challenge straight on. They know how to fail. The person with self-belief isn't afraid to try, which sometimes means not accomplishing what they set out to do. When this happens, they take the lesson learned without making excuses or worrying about how it looks. They don't need the spotlight. When you believe in yourself, you don't need accolades and are quick to point out the accomplishments of others. Most people with strong self-belief are modest. They know their value. They don't need someone else to underscore it for them. The amazing thing about all of these traits is just how easy they are to develop in yourself. By taking the time to build habits of self-belief, you'll be amazed at how quickly you become one of those fantastic people who really believe in themselves. 7 unique approaches to boosting your self-belief. When you lack self-belief, life is hard. Everything seems to take more effort. Success always feels just out of reach. It's not unusual to think others have it easier, have more luck, more talent, and more opportunity than you ever will. What if you realized every one of those things would be yours for the taking, so long as you had the self-belief to get you there? A lack of self-belief is what keeps us from living a life without limits. It's not luck, but the intentional practice which points us towards success. Worried you're not feeling it? You can begin with these unique practices to boost your self-belief. Ask who you are. You start with your vision of yourself. Who do you want to be? Picture your best version of you. Now picture this version of yourself accomplishing every goal and experiencing success. What does this look like for you? Hold on to that vision. Do something scary. How do we get over the things which scare us? By confronting them directly. You'll be amazed at the confidence you feel when you take on a challenge that until now you thought was terrifying. Question yourself. Hearing a small inner voice with some rather harsh criticism? You don't have to take guff from anyone. In fact, the best thing to do is to simply question these voices. Where's the evidence for that kind of harsh statement? What proves or backs up those ideas? Generally, you're going to find this inner critic knows a lot less than you think it does. Embrace rejection. Jia Jiang became famous for deciding to desensitize himself to rejection by making crazy requests of people for 100 days. The idea, to be rejected so many times it no longer matters. While this idea might be a bit out there, you have to admit it's effective if you're brave enough to give it a try. Look outside yourself. How can you help someone else today? By paying attention to the needs of others, we find we have less time for our own worries and feelings of poor self-worth. The odd outgrowth of this, your own self-belief grows the more you spend time giving to others. Say no. When you care about yourself enough to create boundaries with those around you, your self-belief gets a boost. It really is okay to say no when you need to. Adopt equality. The worst thing you can do to yourself is to think someone else is better than you. Guess what? They're not. When you realize you're all on equal footing, it's easier to accept your own value. 8 ways your life will change when you have unshakable self-belief. What does self-belief look like? We all have individual perceptions of self-belief. We think of someone confident who might walk a certain way with head up and shoulders back. They make requests without fear. They command a room just by walking into it. But did you know unshakable self-belief can take on other forms? In fact, a person with this kind of self-belief experiences change in their life in ways which might surprise you. Let's look at a few. You become a priority. When you feel you have value, you start putting yourself first. What are your needs? What are things you want to accomplish? You stop putting everyone else above yourself, and learn the power of saying no. You achieve more than you ever thought. Are there truly any limits anymore? When you stop telling yourself things are impossible, you begin seeking out solutions instead of seeing everything as a problem. This means your level of accomplishment shifts and positive things start happening. You become gritty. In short, you hang in there. This kind of tenacity can only come from someone confident that the outcome is worth it. When you feel good about the choices you've made, it's easier to dig in and work. You trust yourself more. When you believe in yourself, you waffle less on your decisions. You know you can be trusted to do the right thing at the right time. There's less second guessing. You know what you're here for. You're not afraid to make a goal, to create a purpose in your life. You know what you're about. You know when to act. People with self-belief don't stand around doing nothing. They get busy doing what's essential. They understand where their success comes from and aren't afraid to step out when opportunity knocks. You discover momentum. Once started, it's so much easier to keep going. People with strong self-belief don't get bored or disillusioned very easily, so they don't give up. Instead, they discover things happen so long as they stay in motion. You become more committed. You know what you're about, and you want to share your passion with the world. People see your commitment and find themselves wanting to share in it. With so much good to come from unshakable self-belief, working on your self-belief should be a number one priority. It's time to examine your life. What are you telling yourself now? What kinds of messages should you send instead? It's time to become intentional in your self-talk and more confident in your day-to-day living. Your entire life will change when you do. 3 mental shifts to enrich your self-belief in an afternoon. Why are we so hard on ourselves? We hold ourselves back, stuck in a comfort zone that isn't really very comfortable after all. If you're tired of negative self-talk and feeling like you can't accomplish anything, then it's time for a change. It doesn't even need to take too long to do. In fact, by allowing yourself 3 mental shifts, you'll not only enrich your self-belief, but you'll be able to do so in a single afternoon. Read on to find out how. Shift the past. It's time to let it go. Look at all the times where you felt less than stellar. For every time you messed up, you're going to need to forgive yourself. It's just that simple. This might take some time to do well, so prepare to dig in and face some things you've maybe been avoiding. You start by examining each memory separately and responding to those memories with a heartfelt, "I forgive you." Once forgiven, you have to move on. That's it. While this might not sound fun, it is absolutely crucial towards success. Shift the messages you're listening to. Not every voice in your head says something worth absorbing. What are the messages that you give yourself constantly? If you're being negative, you absolutely must change over to a more positive dialogue. Reword problems to create exciting challenges and brainstorm solutions. Change out negative words to a more positive-sounding counterpart. Your inner dialogue must switch out to the positive if you intend to succeed. Self-awareness of your internal dialogue is where you start. Notice each time a negative self-belief comes up, recognize it for what it is, an old negative belief that you can change, and switch to a positive statement until you deeply believe the new version of you. Shift the game plan. Now it's time to act. Take your goals and discover the steps needed to fulfill them. Set yourself in motion to accomplish those smaller goals. Accomplish things. It's these accomplishments that'll shift your self-belief. What you're doing is creating empirical evidence that you're a person capable of success with each micro goal you'll accomplish. What's more, those micro goals will eventually add up into those grand sweeping goals that you set initially, proving you're capable of change and of doing great things. Shifting your thinking isn't as complicated as it's made out to be. The key is to be aware of your thinking and holding steady to the course you've laid with these 3 rules. You're going to be amazed at how differently you feel and how quickly life begins to get better. Boost your self-belief with tips from the world's most successful people. How do you get to the top? When you look at the world's most successful people, what do you see? Was Oprah just lucky? How about Bill Gates or Elon Musk? Believe it or not, regardless of whether you're looking at a celebrity, sports star, or a tech billionaire, you're going to see one thing in common. Every last success story is rooted first in a strong self-belief. Your belief about yourself is what fuels you. It has the ability to set you apart from the rest of the world. When you feel like a success inside, this is where you become a success on the outside. More than anything else, it's what allows you to get ahead where others fail. Not feeling it? Try boosting your self-belief using these tips from the world's most successful people. Stay inside. Navy SEAL Mark Devine says you have to win first in your mind. This means not letting others shake your faith or your confidence in yourself. See your own success first, then go from there. It really can be just that simple. Believe in the mission. Tim Draper, venture capitalist, reminds us how having a goal you're passionate about is the key to personal success. When you believe in what you're doing wholeheartedly, your belief in yourself likewise goes up. Passion is the fuel for self-belief. Do or die. Robert Orkey, screenwriter/producer, says it's all about how you see what you're doing. If you make your goal something you must do as opposed to what you want to do, you gain a harder focus. Self-belief comes from caring mixed with drive and determination. When you're working that hard, your self-belief rises to the challenge. Find your strength. Scott Oldfold, founder of Infinitus, points out that everyone has an unfair advantage, the one thing they're better at than other people. By figuring out what your one thing is and reminding yourself daily of how amazing you are at this thing, your self-belief rises. Everyone needs to recognize how remarkable they are. Check your thoughts. Marina Rose, the founder of QDNA, says it's simple. Keep going. Don't give in to negative thoughts. These are what destroys your sense of self-worth. Instead, focus on positivity. Gather a team of positive people to encourage you. Only allow positive thoughts. Remember, positive self-belief is about staying positive. You will only be as successful as you believe you will be. So if you want to keep your eyes on the prize, start with how you see yourself. Your self-belief is how you get to the top.